In this Thoughts About Tech, I'm going to talk about the new Slate Digital Infinity EQ. Since NAMM, I've been looking around at all the press coverage around the Infinity EQ, and here are my reasons why I think you should care. So, full disclaimer, I do subscribe to the Slate All Access bundle, so this is included for me, but I think the point does need to be made. If you are a subscriber to that, it's included, which is awesome. And I think as far as EQs go in that bundle, the only EQ that is comparable, let's say, to it would be the Air EQ as far as being as flexible. And while the Air EQ sounds great, there's big issues going on that the workflow is not as good. And I think kind of rightly so, the FabFilter Pro Q3 has really, it's defined what it means to be a fast workflow EQ. And I think that's good. I think that sometimes products come out and people look at it and go, oh, of course, this is how it should always be done. And then the competitors go, okay, well, let's see what else we can kind of do with that. And that's good. That's competition. That's great. So what this brings to members of the bundle is it gives them a EQ, potentially, or as far as I can tell, with the sound quality of the Air EQ, but with the flexibility in the workflow of more developed ideas that have been taken from other plugin makers, which is awesome. Now, let's say that you are not a member of the Slate bundle and you're looking at this going, maybe you own Pro Q3 and you're thinking, well, what's there for me? So if you see it in the cut here in the yellow, and if you look at the slopes of it, you'll see almost at the bottom, it's actually almost flat. So initially, I didn't think you could do this in Pro Q3, and I was wrong. It is in there, but the option is what's called slopes. And so you have your Q, which is your kind of standard adjustment, and then you have slope, which allows you to adjust the slopes of the bell curve. But what's interesting about the Slate option is that it gives you essentially a continuous way of adjusting these. Now on the Pro Q3, it's a drop-down menu, which is annoying enough, and then it's a number of settings, and there's no kind of preview of those settings, so I think it isn't quite as intuitive, it isn't quite as quick, and it isn't quite as flexible. You get more options, and I think we've really gotten to a point where the tools sound great. And once all the tools sound great, your question then becomes, well, then how can I work faster? And even small things like this, it means that even for me that I'll do it more often. And it's because if I'm working fast, if something is a bit of pain, it's very easy just to either overlook it and not see it, or just ignore it and kind of move on. So being able to kind of very quickly, within very small mouse movements, I'm not clicking into menus, to be able to adjust all these, it's awesome. And I think really that's a lot of what the Slate EQ is doing as well. So as I just move along their video there, and we're just looking at the interface here, and you'll see effectively where the bell curve is, and around it you'll see a bunch of options. Now what's quite interesting is that there's a lot of things there that are really close together. And for a mouse user, I think even that's good, because again, you're not moving around the screen too much. If you're doing kind of longer moves, it's easier to kind of mess up, it's easier to kind of not hit it, exactly. I think there's more visible there, so it isn't like you're looking for nested menus, which is awesome. The slopes are in the Pro Q3, but they're in a nested menu. You have to right click into it, and then you have to go into another menu of slopes, and you have to go in there and you have to effectively know that is maybe before you'll click on it. Whereas here, it's all very visible, which is great, and it's great for mouse users, but I have to imagine even more so it's great for touch users. Now, as you might know as well, Slate also does Raven touchscreen monitors specifically for mixing, and it, to that end, makes sense that he'll want tools that will work great in that environment. And it's possible that their competitors might have similar products, but they're not as good as they could be for touchscreen. And I think with everything being very close, if you're moving your hand around, you're moving your arm around, again, the less of that you can do, the faster you can work, the less fatigue you're going to get in your arms and hands. So that's a big thing. But yeah, it's all there. It's all very visible, which is great. So yeah, if you're looking for something that's maybe a little faster, a little more intuitive, something that might maybe even encourage you to experiment a little bit more, maybe you find that you fall into the same habits because you don't want to have to kind of, shuffle through menus, you don't want to have to mouse around overly, you just kind of want to get in there, dial in your tone, get out, then most definitely this could be a tool that could be useful for you. Even things like the fact that it, like other competitors, it does mid-side, but I think it does it in a very intuitive way. So what you can do is you can say, hey, I want to boost at, a 6K, maybe I want to put a shelf in a 6K, but I want to boost a little bit more on the sides, all right? You can do that with a single slider. You're not kind of creating 2 points and then having to adjust them separately. You're just going to make the 1 point adjust, and then if you then decide, oh, actually, I want that to happen at 8K instead, you can just move the whole thing. Awesome. There are some really cool features as far as grouping, which is very cool, and that means that you can actually have multiple points and then actually lock them together. So you move one and they all move. You change the setting on one, change it on all of them. I think it's going to open up some really cool options for creative ideas. So if you did want to use it, let's say, as a weird different filtering effect, and you wanted to kind of have the bells oscillating, moving around, and what you might just be able to do is just be able to make, let's say, 4 of these bells, bring them close together. Maybe you want a high Q, and then you lock them all together, and then you automate one of them and they all move together. That's pretty cool. And then you have things like the resizable interface, which again seems like a small thing, but especially if you're working on very big monitors, or in many cases very small monitors, and you're like, okay, I want to be able to adjust it so it fits perfectly into the space I want it to fit into. A lot of other plugins are resizable. Most of them have like a number of settings, so maybe a small, medium, large, extra large, maybe. And sometimes you're just kind of in that middle ground going, oh, I wish it was a little bit bigger, a little smaller, especially for touch. Again, for that market, it's a no-brainer to have that infinite resizability. And if nothing else, I think a lot of people look at this EQ and go, well, why? We already have a similar plugin. Hey, we have a similar plugin that does more things in some ways, like example with the dynamic EQ and that kind of thing. Well, why would this exist? So I think what's happened is that we have a new paradigm as far as EQ, where I think people have looked at the Pro Q3 and said, hey, the workflow here, awesome, great. And what tends to happen is that then the market will kind of go around that. And what's cool about that is that we all then decide, okay, this is, for this kind of EQ, this is optimum. Now let's try to innovate around that. Let's try to see what else we can do with it within that space. And having more than one company kind of battling out for that market is good, because it means that you get new features to come out, new ideas. You have, company A comes out with feature, and then company B goes, okay, well, we're gonna take that feature, we're gonna make it even better, or we're gonna improve it in this way, or we're gonna make it easier to use, or we're gonna, having competition for that is really healthy. So I think that even if you never buy this product, I think that this will make their competitors go, oh, well, what else can we add? What different feature can we bring to the table that will make ours more worthwhile? So I think everyone's a winner. Just a couple of thoughts there on the Slate Digital Infinity EQ. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.